So as you seem to enjoy the videos I do from my local auction houses, I thought I'd take a look a little bit further afield as what's going on elsewhere in the country. So we're going to take a look at WB & Sons up in the northeast, we're going to look at Manor Park classics in the southwest and historics down at Windsor. And these auctions all happened on the 19th of July, and I'm going to do my usual thing of pick out a few cars from each auction that we'll take a closer look at and see what they went for, if indeed they sold. So the first one we're going to look at is WB & Sons. Again, as I said, these are up in the northeast, and this auction had 177 lots, but that did include bikes and some automobilia. Now, the one thing I did notice about this auction, looking at the results as a whole, they were very good at the estimates versus the sale price. It did seem to be very much falling in those parameters, which is quite interesting to see. So the first car I want to look at is this Citroen DS Pallas from 1975. This was lot 40. Now I think this must have been one of the last Citroen DS's, because this was around the time I think the Citroen CX came out. Now this one's been in long-term ownership, it's had a recent recommission, and the other thing is it's only had 400 miles since it had a full leather interior reupholster, so that would have been proper money. And to be fair, it went for proper money as well. It was estimated at £10,000 to £12,000, and it actually sold for £12,808. So I think that was a good price for that one. Now the next one I want to look at is lot 79, and funny enough, that is the follow-on from the DS Pallas. It's a 1985 Citroen CX25 GTI Turbo. Now, those of you who've been watching the channel for a while, and if you haven't, this is a good time for you to hit that subscribe button. We had one of these down at SWVA a couple of months ago, and it was quite a funny auction actually, because the bidding took an awfully long while on it, and it was a car that needed quite a lot of work, but it still went for 4,400. Now this one is completely different. It's been recently refurbished, it is in really good condition, it's all basically good to go. It was estimated at £10,000 to £12,000, but actually sold for £13,625. And I can see why. If we look across at some of the other pictures, it was in really, really nice condition. They had done a really nice job on it. So, rare car, and the price went up accordingly. Next up, I've got lot 84, and this was a 1983 Ford Escort RS 1600i, and I think this was a really good buy. There were actually two RS 1600i's in this auction. As we know, there weren't many of them made in the first place. The other one was an up and running, ready to go, and that went for around about 16,000. Now this one has been in long-term storage, does need some recommissioning, but did look in very good condition. Only done 73,000 miles, and it comes with a big history folder. And looking across at the pictures, it really did look in good condition, and it sort of bodywork wise, it didn't seem that that was going to be where you needed to spend your money. It was probably just getting up and running those normal commissioning bits of brakes and engine service and so on. So I think this one was guided at 10 to 14,000 and actually sold for 11,445. So I think that was a pretty good buy actually, because I think your commissioning costs probably weren't going to be that great on that one. So I think that was quite a good buy. Now I just quickly wanted to drop in on one lot 34, this Peugeot 205 from 1991. And the reason is, if you saw our recent video on that massive 200 car barn find on the Welsh border, you'll notice there was an awful lot of 205s, and they seem to go for what I consider strong money. And I think this just proves the case, that this one, it's got 75,000 miles on it. Yes, it is an automatic, so it always tends to soften the value. But it's got MOT for a couple of months, and it was estimated, I think, at 400 to 600, yeah, and it actually sold £590. And I just think that was such a bargain. You know, that's one you can just tax, insure, and drive away. So I think it shows how strong the money was at that barn find auction. I just want to drop in on one lot 63, because does this suggest the T4 bubble has burst? This 1992 version, it looked really tidy. Obviously it's difficult to be sure, but you know, these T4s I know can hide a lot of rot, but this one did look particularly tidy. It was kitted out inside the camper, as an awful lot of them are. It got a nice interior with it. It was guided at sort of 2.5 to 3.5, which I thought was a bit conservative, but it only made £2,398. And I just think maybe these older campers, people are getting a little bit wary of them, but maybe just the bubble has burst. Who knows? And the last one from WB is this 1991 Mercedes 420 SEL. And it was their very last car of the day, and it one that did overperform compared to its estimate. It only done 48,000 miles, come with a big history file, obviously got that chunky V8 engine in the front, and it got MOT through to July 2026, so it's ready to turn the key and drive away. It was guided at 3.5 to 4,500, but actually went under the hammer for £7,794. So that was a strong sale on that one, and obviously a big sought after car. Low mileage, it's not a surprise. So that's enough from WB. Let's move on to Historics. Next up, we've got Historics, and this was their Summer Serenade auction at Windsorview Lakes. And this again, 19th of July, and there was 187 lots at this auction. I'll just brush by this one because everybody will have seen it. If you're on social media, it came up somewhere. Was this 1976 Ford Escort Mark II RS 1800, literally an express car. It had only done 24,000 miles, and it just went completely daft, including fees. It was 276,848. Rather your money than mine. I'm going to show you some much better options than that. I think this car was a much better option than the RS 1800. What you're going to do, you're not going to use that. This one is usable. It's 1978, again, Ford Escort Mark II. However, it's had a Cosworth engine put in it, which I think is a great conversion. It's shown 65,000 on the mileometer, but again, at this age, who knows? But I think this is a great drivable car. Interestingly, it was guided at 26 to 32. At auction, it only made £21,000 and was unsold, but there has subsequently been a sale, I can see by their website, and it's actually gone through for £27,000. And I think that's a much more usable car, and I think, you know, you can use that as a daily driver, probably. Now, lot 219, I really like. It is a 1973 Jensen Viperceptor, and the name will give you a clue. Yes, it has got a Dodge Viper engine in it, built at a cost of around £200,000. This, you know, you look through the pictures, it looks really nice. It's not been done with a chainsaw, it's been done with a scalpel. It's a really nice job. It was done by the Valley Gas Speed Shop back in 2013, and they've recently serviced, recommissioned it, so it's up ready and running for someone to use. It just looks right to me from every angle that you look at. I just think it is a really nice car. At the auction, it was guided at 78 to 92,000. Didn't get there, I'm afraid. It only got to 65,000 at auction. But looking at Historic's website, it's interesting. It has now sold at £75,000, so that one has gone to a new home. Now, if you're a regular viewer, you will know we have to have Kit Car Corner whenever I do an auction, and this is no exception. This one is really nice though. 2021 Suffolk SS100. Now, for those that don't know, the SS brand, which was Swallow Sidecars, was what Jaguar was called before the war. Funny enough, after the war, SS was not the best connotation to have as a car brand in the UK. So they changed the name to Jaguar. But this one is a replica made by a company called Suffolk. The kit was supplied in 2013. It was IVA tested and registered in 2021. Unfortunately, sometime since then, the owner has passed away, and it's only done 157 miles. It's got Jaguar running gear. These are a glorious thing. They're handcrafted sports cars, and I think for it to sell for just £20,000, that was quite a giveaway. I think someone's going to have a wonderful time with that for not a lot of money, and it will sell on again for the same again in a few years. I know a lot of people, it's got a Q plate, but unfortunately, with probably the way it was come together in parts and so on, that might have been the only option. So, but otherwise, fantastic car. Now, I think lot 257 was probably the bargain of the weekend, and as I think I've said in the thumbnail, cheapest Ford Sierra 3-door Cosworth, probably, but always there's a catch. This one presented really nicely. It's showing 32,000 miles, which they believe is genuine. The history to it, though, is that it was allegedly stolen off a forecourt of a garage many years ago, but got returned to the garage basically as a kit of parts. Someone had wanted the body shell, can't think why, and they basically had all the components to rebuild it into a brand new body shell, which is what they've done. It only got something like 25,000 miles on the clock at that time, and they rebuilt it, and I think it was the current owner who actually purchased it from them. So yes, it has got a little bit of history, but I still think for what money three-door Cosworths are going for, I think this was cheap. Estimate wise, it was up for 28 to 33. At the auction, it only made it to 25,000, but on the historics website, it's now showing and sold. Unfortunately, it doesn't give us a value. Presumably, the vendor or the buyer don't want that shared, but I would imagine it probably went for the sort of lower end of the estimate. I still think it makes it a very cheap car. It hasn't done a lot of miles. Yes, it's got a little bit of a tainted history, but otherwise, I think that was a bargain. Now, the last one I've got from historics is this 1983 Triumph Acclaim. And I think someone was being a bit ambitious here, if I'm brutally honest. Yes, it's a one owner. Yes, it's only done 16,750 miles. Triumph Acclaim do have an audience, shall we say, but this one, it wasn't perfect. You could see bits of rust creeping in here and there, so it was going to need some work. I thought £4,000 car at best, 4 to 5. It was estimated at 8 to 11. I just don't think there was any way it was ever going to hit that. At auction, it did actually reach 3,750. Yes, it's probably been loved and so on, but they're not worth that, and I don't actually see a day when they ever will be that. Sorry, Acclaim owners, I'm just being really honest with my opinion. So that one obviously remained unsold. So let's go over and see what happened at Manor Park. So for our final auction, let's head over to Manor Park Classics up at Runcorn in Cheshire. Again, 19th of July, and in this case they had 114 lots. Now, the first car that jumped out and hit me on this one was this 99 Peugeot 106 GTI. Now, let's be honest, most of these have been used max powered or scraped down their roof on the bypass somewhere. This one was really nice, and the price reflected it. It only done 71,000 miles. It's had 3 keepers so far, and come with lots of history. The first owner, I think, had it 23 years, so it's certainly been loved. And that one went through for £6,900. So those late 90s hot hatches are, if they're really nice ones, are definitely coming. My next choice is lot 220, and this is a 1977 Ford Escort 1.6 Ghia. Now, normally we associate big prices on Mark II Escorts with the sport versions, RSs and so on, but this one still went really strong money. It went for £20,000, and there was good reason for that. It's only done 13,000 miles from new. It had one owner for 28 years. It's then been through the hands of a collector who has just gone to town on it. It's just brilliant. They've painted the underside and polished it, even sourced like the original Motorcraft battery. It just looks absolutely perfect. It's got all the V5s, unbelievable history with this one. And it deserved that kind of money, because it's the age-old thing of, at the moment, the cars where you're not going to find another one, they are going to achieve strong money, and that was certainly the case with this one. Now, lot 237 may well be familiar to some of you who watch Salvage Hunters classic cars, because it was one of the ones that they featured. 1966 Vauxhall Viva HA90 Deluxe. And this car came to the Salvage Hunters crew, obviously includes Paul Cowland, who works with Manor Park Classics, as a car that had been owned by someone for 53 years. And they gradually improved it over that time. It got a Bill Blindenstein engine. It was just really nice. It went through the program. They decided not to repaint it. They just got it back up and going mechanically. That left all its original patina, which I think is a great thing. I think that's a good way to do it. It came to auction with an estimate of £10,000 to £12,000, but unfortunately appears to remain unsold, so didn't actually achieve that at auction. So market's not as strong as they hoped at the moment for those cars. Now lot 252 I think went for quite strong money. I know there aren't many MG Metro turbos left, and this 1989 example did look in really good condition. Didn't seem to have a massive amount of history or anything around it, showing 85,000 miles, which looking at the condition probably looked about right. They reckon there's only 29 of these still on the road. 8,625. I thought that was strong for that. I know, you know, they are the sort of their peak metro for a lot of people. It's got MOT till later this year, so it's good to go. But yeah, I thought that was strong money for that. I'd have thought 5, 6, 7, but hey, what do I know? But on the other hand, I thought lot 277, this 1988 Toyota Supra, was a bit of a bargain. I know a couple of the auctions we've been to recently, there's been Supras there and they've been asking sort of north of 10 grand. This one was a little bit of a project. It wasn't horrendous. The worst thing was probably got some lacquer peel happening to the paint, which could be costly to restore. Last MOT expired in 2023, so there is going to be a little bit of commissioning needed there. But otherwise, I thought this was a bit of a bargain. You know, these are in good condition, they're really strong money. And if you wanted a cheap way in and can do a lot of the work yourself, I think that would be quite a good buy for you. So at 5,290, that was snapped up. So lot 294, familiar car to a lot of people, 1981 Ford Cortina 2-litre Ghia. This looked a really nice car. Apparently the paintwork wasn't perfect, but it wasn't far off. It's had relatively low ownership for its age, 6 owners, and showing 32,000 miles. The only thing was, there didn't seem to be a massive amount of history to back that up. The interior was in good condition, had a very small amount of wear apparently, but I think went for strong money, 10,580. Now, I know Cortinas are popular. I didn't think they were that popular. Someone was obviously confident in the mileage, and yeah, it looks like a 32,000 mile car, so not overly surprised, but did feel a little strong for me. But as I said before, what do I know? Now, you had the Mark II Escort RS 1800 getting all the social media attention over at Historics for getting big money, but this was the big seller at Manor Park Classics. 1933 Mercedes Benz 380k Cabriolet Type A. As you can see, it's not in the best condition. Allegedly, there's only, they think, 4 or 5 of these in existence. It's been in the UK since before the Second World War. Quite surprised someone was buying something German in the late 30s, but hey, I think it arrived around about 1936. Obviously, it's needed full restoration. It comes with quite a lot of documentation, apparently. I think the current owners had it since about 1963. But yeah, it's going to be an awful lot of work in that. You're going to pay probably 2 or 3 times that just to get it restored. But hey, someone fell in love with it at £262,200. So I've got to say, out of the two, I'd have taken the RS 1800 because this is going to be a money pit. But one of the few pre-war Mercedes, there isn't going to be many others, as we know. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that slightly different format. Tell me what you think about it in the comments, and maybe I can expand on it for future videos. There's obviously lots of auction houses across the UK, and I just try and give you a feel of, you know, some of the highlights of the auctions and what sort of prices things are going for. So if you have enjoyed it, please consider giving that subscribe button a tickle for us. Catch you next time.